Hey, y'all, my name's Patrick Henry, and I'm really happy that Mike asked me to say a few words about Jeanne Robertson. I wish I could be with you in person, but we are right this moment in Topsail enjoying our family vacation. Jeanne was a really special person in my life. I met her many years ago when I was a kid, actually, because she and my father, Robert Henry, were in a partnership together. He was a speaker as well. And when I married her secretary's daughter, I moved to North Carolina and we really developed a special relationship. When she passed away 3 years ago, I spoke at her funeral and I followed her son Beaver. Yes, his name is Beaver. And Beaver said that he had a front row seat to watching his mom in action. During my part of the eulogy, I said that I had a backstage pass because I got to see behind the scenes. We worked together a lot. We wrote material and we talked about strategy and just building our businesses. And I felt really honored to be able to watch her in action. This award is built on four pillars that she incorporated into her career for the over 50 years she was a professional speaker. The first one is staying relevant. Jeanne was a master at staying relevant. And the way she did that is she wrote new material constantly. And she wrote about her experiences. You can't steal somebody else's personal experiences. And she was constantly writing material and she was very methodical about it. And that's one thing I always appreciated about her. As speakers, sometimes we come up with a body of work and then we just ride it all the way to the end. She never did that. She was constantly writing, constantly innovating, which leads me to the next pillar, which is leading with innovation. She was old school in the fact that she stood there with a microphone and delivered, but she also became a master at using social media to build her following. And one thing I observed about Jeanne, she didn't just post and let it ride. Every comment that she got, she somehow responded. People felt that they were her friends because of the way she interacted on social media. She had hundreds of thousands of followers. So when it was time for her to release a new album, or when we started creating the Back Porch Show during the pandemic, we had hundreds of thousands of viewers because they were constantly engaged with her and they knew what was coming. The third pillar is demonstrating resilience. That was one of the most resilient people I've ever met, Jeanne was. And that was demonstrated when she broke her leg many years ago. And she was laid up in a recovery center, but she never stopped working. And she created new material around that experience. She turned it into an asset. She had a speech in DeLand, Florida. And some of you may have heard this story, but she couldn't drive herself. And she couldn't get on an airplane because her leg was in a cast. And so she called me up and said, my ride fell through. Can you drive me to DeLand, Florida? And I said, when do you need to be there? She said, tomorrow. I said, let's go. So we hopped in the car and we drove 9 hours towards Orlando and we talked and laughed the whole way. But she turned her setbacks into opportunities, and that was just her style. The last one is staying persistent. She was focused. And she had a mission in life. She loved nothing more than sitting at the computer. If she wasn't writing material, she was interacting with her fans and with her audience. And that's how she gave back. She mentored countless speakers on how to elevate their career and how to become funny and incorporate that into their presentations. But she was so methodical about her art. And it really is an art. A lot of times people think they can just become funny and it come through on stage, but she was very specific and very methodical about how she did that. I miss Jeanne very much, but her influence goes on and carries on, not just through me, but just through hundreds of speakers and people who she influenced. And I'm so happy that you're honoring her through this award. That's why I've offered up this microphone as part of this award, if it's nothing more than taking a picture with it. This microphone, I watched her when she was preparing a new bit of material for a speech. She walked around her office with this microphone practicing. And if somebody who's been in the business for 50 years still rehearses, still practices, still pays attention to the small details, if that person does it, you can bet that I'm going to do it as well. So whoever's receiving this award, congratulations, and I hope this goes on into perpetuity to not only honor yourself, but to honor the legacy of what I consider is a great woman. Thank you for letting me be a small part of it.